I have a small flower shop. It is old but beautiful. The walls are white and the door is brown. Inside there are many flowers, roses, lilies, daisies, and tulips. The air smells sweet and fresh. People come to buy flowers every day. Some are happy, some are sad. Flowers can make a bad day better. Flowers can bring hope and joy. Every morning I open the shop early. I water the plants carefully, clean the floor and windows, and put fresh flowers on the table. I love my shop very much. It is quiet and peaceful. The flowers do not talk, but they make me happy. I like to watch people when they choose flowers. A man buys red roses for his wife. A child picks a yellow flower for his mother. An old woman smells the white lilies and smiles. Every flower has a story and a meaning. One morning I saw a girl outside. She stood near the shop door. She did not smile at all. She looked tired and lost. Her clothes were simple and old. Her eyes were dark and sad. She did not move for a long time. She just looked at the flowers. I watched her from inside. She was young but looked lonely. I wondered what she was thinking. I walked outside slowly. The air was cold and dry. "Do you like flowers?" I asked her. She looked at me in silence. She did not answer for a moment. Then she looked at the roses carefully. Her hands were in her pockets. The wind moved her dark hair. I waited for her to speak. After a long time, she said, "Yes, I do." Her voice was quiet and soft. I smiled warmly at her. "Come inside," I said kindly. She looked at me again, then followed me into the shop. The warm air touched her face gently. She looked around with quiet eyes. She did not touch anything. She just looked at the flowers. Her eyes moved slowly from one flower to another. She saw the pink roses. She saw the white lilies and the small violets near the window. Her hands were still in her pockets. I picked up a pink rose. "This is for you," I said with a smile. She looked at the rose for a moment. She did not take it immediately. "I have no money," she said softly. I shook my head and smiled. "It is a gift," I said warmly. Slowly, she took the rose in her hands. She held it carefully and gently. She looked at it for a long time in silence. She smelled the rose quietly. Her eyes looked softer now. She did not smile, but she did not look so tired anymore. She looked around the shop again. This time, she stepped closer to the flowers. She touched the petals of a white lily. She looked at the small daisies on the table. She was still quiet, but something was different. Maybe she liked the flowers. Maybe she felt a little better. She stood in my shop holding the pink rose. She did not speak much. She looked at the flowers, but she did not smile. Her fingers touched the petals softly. She smelled the rose again as if she wanted to remember its scent. The shop was warm and quiet. Outside, the wind was cold and strong. I watched her carefully. She looked tired, but there was something in her eyes, something I could not understand yet. I walked to the counter and picked up a small watering can. "I water the flowers every morning," I said. My voice broke the silence. She turned her head slightly. "Do you want to help?" I asked. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded slowly. I handed her the watering can. She took it with both hands. Her fingers were thin and pale. She looked down at the can, then at the flowers. She stepped closer to the plants. She started watering the violets first. The water touched the soil softly. She moved carefully, as if she was afraid to hurt the flowers. She did not rush. She took her time with each plant. I watched her from behind the counter. She was quiet, but she was not lost in thought anymore. She focused on the flowers. She moved to the lilies next, then the daisies. She touched each petal with care. I sat down on a wooden chair near the window. Flowers need love, I said. If you take care of them, they grow strong. She did not answer, but I saw her listening. She poured water on a rose bush. A few drops fell on her fingers. She wiped her hands on her coat, then looked at me. "Why do you have a flower shop?" she asked. Her voice was still soft, but there was curiosity in it. I smiled at her question. "Because I love flowers," I said. "They are quiet, but they say so much. They can make people happy. They can bring peace. When I was young, I worked in a big city. It was loud, busy, and cold. I was always tired. But one day, I saw a small flower shop. I walked inside, and suddenly I felt calm. The colors, the smell, the quiet. I knew I wanted a place like that. So I left the city and opened this shop." She listened without moving. Her hands held the empty watering can. She looked at the flowers again. "I think flowers are nice," she said after a long pause. It was not a big sentence, but it was something. She put the watering can down on the floor. Then she touched the petals of a yellow daisy. "They are soft," she said quietly. I nodded. "Yes, they are." The wind outside made the windows shake slightly. The street was empty now. The sun was hidden behind the clouds. I looked at the girl again. She still looked tired, but she did not look lost anymore. Not completely. Maybe, just maybe, she was starting to feel something different. Something small but important. The next day, Sarah came to the shop early. She walked straight to the flowers, not needing any help. She picked up the watering can and started watering the plants with care. Her movements were slow but confident. She had learned so much since she first came. She didn't seem lost anymore. The flowers seemed to respond to her touch, their petals brightening as she watered them. I watched her for a moment, then walked over to the counter. I handed her a bouquet of roses. "Can you wrap these for the customer?" I asked. She nodded without saying a word. Her hands were steady now as she wrapped the flowers in soft paper, taking her time to make sure everything was perfect. When she finished, she placed the bouquet on the counter. She looked up at me. "What's next?" she asked, her voice calm. I smiled. "Now we wait for more customers," I said. She nodded and smiled. A small smile, but a real one. She had changed since she first walked into my shop. She no longer seemed sad or lost. There was a peacefulness in her now. Later in the day, she stood by the window, looking at the small violet she had planted. It was growing stronger, its leaves reaching toward the light. "It's growing," she said softly. I looked over and stood beside her. "Just like you," I said. She looked at me, her eyes bright. Sarah smiled and nodded. "I like it here," she said, her voice steady and full of meaning. I smiled back. "I'm glad you do." The shop felt warmer with her there, like it had found a new kind of peace.
Like, share, subscribe.